Welcome to the Fierce and Fit Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Clarice 𝗂𝗂, a holistic health coach dedicated to helping women over 40 achieve their fittest, fiercest selves. Each week, we'll dive deep into the unique challenges of menopause, including belly fat, weight gain, muscle building, hormonal imbalances, and more. These episodes are recorded live from my free Facebook group, Fierce Women Sculpting Powerful Bodies and Champion Mindsets. Be sure to check the link in the show notes to join our incredible community and access free content, challenges, and resources designed just for you. This is the first live of 2026. It is the topic macros, the missing link to fat loss and muscle building after 40. So this is a super important topic because even before I continue with my introduction, one thing I always say is women always tell me, how do I get the physique? How do I get leaner? How do I build more muscle? How do I flatten that belly? And this is the first live for a reason. This is the first live because foundationally, if you do not understand macros, you will almost never achieve the results of what you want unless you're genetically gifted, which is genetic anomalies are about 3 to 5% of our population. Okay, so this is why this is foundation. If you want a really great physique, as most of you know, I've competed for multiple years. I trained competitors. This is non-negotiable to understand macronutrients. And like I said, if you are just joining us, this is part of our January Reset series, a 5-week series where every week I'm going into a topic according to the workbook that was released, our Fierce Women workbook. And we're going to use that to be the foundational 5 pillars to talk about what it takes to actually transform your body after 40. Okay, so these 5 pillars is the secret. If anybody else tells you anything else in terms of like how to achieve that ideal body for your physique, they're missing something, right? Because all 5 pillars is so crucial to women after 40. And that's why I built the workbook. And that's why it's what I'm going to talk about every single week. Okay, so let's start with some foundational things. So most women here don't need, let's say, more discipline. Some do. But what I'm saying is a lot of women are like, I do so much. I try, I go to the gym. I'm doing everything right. I'm juicing. I'm juicing. I hear all this type of stuff. And it's not about, I need to eat cleaner. It's not about, I need to eat less. It's not about, I need to train harder. I want to break the paradigm for all of you. What most of you are missing is precision, especially now that your hormones are changing. You're missing precision. Precision is the key. So what I want you guys to think about is tonight is not about dieting. It's about understanding how your body actually responds to food after 40. Okay, after 40, how does your body respond to food? And what I want you to think about is this is about educating you, not about judgment, because we've all been there where we've been, we don't know what to do. We're kind of just trying to get whatever we can to help ourselves. What I want you to think about is about awareness over perfection, and we're building foundation knowledge. Today is the first foundation, and we're building on it over the next 5 weeks, right? So what we're going to do here, if you have the workbook, okay, is we're going to talk about what macros actually are. And I want you to open that workbook if you have it, okay? So we are going to go through it in a second. And if you don't have it, request the workbook below and Debbie or one of the angels will send it to you. So most women think they know macros. Okay, when I ask people about macros, they say, I sort of know, I think I know, or your book talked about it or whatever, right? But they don't know, they know the definition, but they don't know the function of the macro. I'm going to say that again. Most women understand the definition of macros, but not the function of macros. So if we want the definition of macros, you just have to go to the workbook. I'm just going to pull that workbook up here, right? So the workbook here says there's 3 things in the workbook. It says there's 3 basic macros, right? protein, carbs, and fat. It's right there. But I'm going to read it out to you because we're going to talk about understanding the definition versus understanding the function of macros. First of all, protein it repairs and builds muscles, supports hormone production, and keeps you feeling full. It says it right there. Carbohydrates provides quick energy, replenishes glycogen stores after workouts, and supports thyroid health. Number 3, fats are crucial for hormone production, brain health, and absorbing fat-soluble vitamins. I always say the basic definition of protein, carbs, and fat is proteins are your bricks, the building blocks of your house. The carbohydrates are the workers that build the house. And fats is the electricity and the lights that makes the house come alive. Okay, so basic definitions: protein, carbs, and fat. Now, I asked a question on there that if you are willing to put it below, I like to hear. And the balance of these 3 macros changes as hormones shift in menopause. Are you fueling your body with the right mix? So let me ask you, for those of you who have the workbook or did the workbook, did any of you notice any imbalance in your meals? Because you were supposed to write down breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. Did anybody do that? Did anybody do that where you wrote down breakfast, lunch, dinner, or snacks? Put it below. Did you notice anything imbalance in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner or snacks? I'm going to go to the next section of the workbook, which is protein is your superpower. We are going to talk about this, but it says on there that 0.8 to 1 grams per kilogram of protein is a general recommendation. So 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of protein per kilogram of body weight. So 0.8 to 1 gram per kilogram of body weight is the general recommendation. But this is very minimal. And if you study a lot of scientific papers, they talk about that is like nowhere near enough of what someone needs, especially somebody who lifts weights or does more, and someone in menopause. And one thing that you want to keep in mind, I'm going to cover protein more deeply, is as you age, you actually need way more protein than the standard recommendation. And so I asked you on the workbook, do you know your own personalized protein requirement to optimize body recomposition? Do you know your own personalized protein requirement to optimize body recomposition? Here's the key, is you need to know proper protein to recomposite. This is really key, everyone. Body recomposition is losing fat and building muscle at the same time. Two opposing processes in your body. The amount of protein you need is very specific. It is not just, oh, randomly this generalization says I should have this. It is very specific because you are doing a very difficult process in your body, right? And so this is something that I want you guys to think about in the workbook. If you have it open in front of you, this is the second, or well, it's the 4th page of the document. But, you know, it says, do you really know what your protein requirements are? And there's a second question I want you guys to answer is, do I understand timing and how protein is to be eaten in the day to get the best results? And again, like I say, I will go through some science things and teachings here, but this is more about you, self-reflection, using this workbook as a tool. Do you know the timing of how you need to eat in order to increase muscle building? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Listening on Spotify, tap that 5-star rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a quick review. It really helps the show reach more women. So again, this is really getting you to think about how well do you actually understand macros. And the last thing on that sheet, it says, are you fueling your body with the right, love the balloons, combination of macros? So there's 3 faces on that workbook. It has a smiley face. Yes, I'm 100% confident in seeing results. Number 2, in the middle, like with the half smiling face. I feel I have it down somewhat, but can definitely use more guidance on this. And then the little frowny face, no, I definitely need more guidance in my macros. So for all of you with your phone or laptops or iPad, put a face below for me. Is it the big smiley face, the medium smiley face, or the frowny face? Where are you in your own macro knowledge assessment? Because that will tell me a lot about whether you're going to hit your goals this year or not. And I'm just trying to be as straightforward with you as possible. So many women tell me, I want to have a better composition. I want to look like lean and sculpted and like drop percentage fat. And and the foundation is, if you don't even understand macros, it is impossible for you to get to that goal. You can lose weight generally, but you're not going to be sculpted, right? This is the truth. Now, the workbook, like I said, is more like a guidance tool for you to think, reflect, write out some of your meals, take a look at it, audit it, understand what I'm saying here interactively, and be honest with yourself. When I go into the next section here, which is obviously teaching on aspects of the macros, a lot of people always tell me, like, I love your lives. And I know Tammy listens to me in the gym, which is awesome. But I have to say that it's great because I want to teach you, but information without implementation is dead. And a lot of people listen to me and they understand, and it gets complex. I'm going to go into GLP, PPYs, protein, macros, carbs. I'm going to go into all that in a bit. But this is the thing of the complexity of what I'm going to discuss. Information does not equal to implementation. What you want to understand is how do I implement these macros properly? What is my individual macro numbers, and how does this apply to getting the physique that I actually want? Okay, so as we move into the not implementation, but into the more science-based part of this, think less about how much information I need to get from this live, because Clarice always is going to give you a ton of science and research, and more about, do I really understand how this applies into my life? Okay, so let's everybody stop for a second, and whatever you're doing, put it in the chat box. No info beast. Debbie's gonna laugh. I always talk about this. No info beast, please. Put below. Make a declaration to yourself. No info beast. Okay, not just about information, but how am I going to implement? Okay, so let's come back to the topic here. So let's talk about this, is understanding that macros are not just calories, they're biological signals. Each macro sends different hormonal instructions to your body. So understanding how these macros actually send instructions to your body is foundational. So let's first talk about protein. So when you eat protein, you signal muscle preservation in your body. You raise the satiety hormone GLP-1 and PYY. We're going to come back to this and dive deeper there. But just for now, just, the bullet points. So raises satiety hormones, meaning when you eat protein, you allow your body to feel full. It lowers the hunger hormone ghrelin, which means it lowers your craving hormones. And it stimulates muscle protein synthesis, which declines with age. So it will help you have the right signal for muscle protein synthesis. Now, as I mentioned earlier, women over 40 have something called anabolic resistance. The body needs more protein per meal. Listen to that carefully. More protein per meal, okay? Per meal, to get the same muscle building signal. So a lot of women don't eat nearly enough of what they need for protein. And just eating clean or eating some protein is not enough, okay? It is about having a large, sufficient amount of protein. Now, let's talk about some hormone signals that I said I will reference, GLP-1 and PYY. So the GLP-1 and PYY. So GLP-1 is glucagon-like peptide 1. Okay, GLP-1. This is a gut hormone primarily released from the small intestines after eating protein. So it gets released when you eat protein and fiber, both. So that is a gut hormone. Okay. And PYY is another gut hormone. It's a peptide YY, and it is released in the lower intestine in response to food and how much volume is in your stomach. Okay. So when GLP-1 is released in your system, it tells a number of things to your body. Number one, it tells your brain that you are satisfied, and it reduces appetite signals and decreases food noise, like needing food. Okay. So when GLP-1 is present, then it increases satiety. In the pancreas, when you eat protein, it improves insulin sensitivity. It slows glucose release into the bloodstream, meaning sugar does not rise as fast into your bloodstream, and reduces blood sugar spikes, which is very crucial because blood sugar is related to a lot of problems and belly fat and everything else. Okay. So when you have the right signaling, the GLP-1, you're going to have better signaling in your brain, in your pancreas, and as well, it slows down gastric emptying timing of when and how fast food moves through your digestive tract. You stay full longer. So GLP-1, just so you guys understand, is why they mimic this in drugs like Ozempic. People who take Ozempic have problems with their blood sugar, and they're trying to lose weight and all of this. And this is why I always say the ones who have come to me who are pre-diabetic or have problems with blood sugar, things like that, sometimes it's not about taking another drug, is simply understanding what type of food you need in your body to signal the right signaling, because protein naturally raises GLP-1 in your system, and GLP-1 has the similar effect as you taking Ozempic that is trying to make you feel full and all this type of stuff and controlling the blood sugar. But if you understand macros, a lot of times you can control this naturally. Secondly, PYY is that peptide YY that I talked about, gut hormone. It signals I'm done eating. It signals that you're no longer hungry, okay, between meals. And it reduces impulsive snacking. How many of you find you have cravings or snackings? Put below cravings or snackings below. Do you find yourself craving or eating more snacks, or then wanting more like treats and things like that? Put below. Because again, this is identifying for yourself. You may not have the right PYY signaling. Why? Because you don't have the right macro signals in your body. Anybody who tends to snack or finds they crave things, or they're starting to get super hungry. I know I heard this from a few people over the holidays. Protein is the strongest macronutrient stimulator of PYY. And so listen to what I just said, that protein is the strongest macronutrient stimulator of PYY, which means that if you want better control of your cravings and better control of the signals in your body and whatnot, then you need to ensure you have a high protein and protein nutrient in your macronutrients. Like I said, most do not eat enough. And the thing you have to know about GLP-1 and PYY, these hormones become less responsive with age unless protein is sufficient. So again, this is a big, I want these light bulbs to go off in your head. If you're 40, 50, 60, almost 70, I have one that's almost 80, okay? Your signaling is not that great with GLP-1 and PYY naturally. So you must ensure there is adequate and proper amount of protein and proper timing of protein. Both are super important. Okay. So proper amount of protein and timing. If you want to learn more about like amount of protein and timing, you can just protein below, and we'll know. You can just say put protein. If you're like, I need to understand more about protein because it is super important, put protein or timing below. Now we're going to talk about carbs because this is going to be the next real big aha moment. And I'm going to say it's bigger than protein. Why? Because most women in the fitness industry talk about protein, and you guys all kind of know, and every marketing thing says there's protein on this protein thing, there's protein in this bar, there's protein here. The marketing tells you protein is important. So I know that was not super like eye-opening, but the GLP-1 is super important because it relates to whether you're going to be snacking, cravings, going off tilt on your nutrition, will tell you a lot about your protein intake. But we're going to dive into a bigger one now, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, I'm going to tell you, is your best friend or your worst enemy, depending on how well you understand it. Is your best friend. I mean, bodybuilders love carbs till the timing they step on stage. Is that correct, 𝗠𝗂𝗀𝗃? We love carbs because when we get on that stage, every muscle is going to pop and giant fill through our muscles. But there's a lot of specifics involved with this. Now let's talk about it. Let's look at carbohydrates not just as energy. We do know that carbohydrates give us energy. However, I want to change your perception to carbohydrates are thyroid and cortisol regulators. They are thyroid and cortisol regulators, meaning they impact two very crucial hormone pathways in your body, thyroid and cortisol regulators. Carbs lower cortisol when timed correctly. So those of you listening, make sure you hear what I said there. Carbs lower cortisol when it's timed correctly. What is one of the biggest precursors of belly fat? Cortisol. So if we can wrap our head around this, if carbs can lower cortisol when timed correctly, that means carbs potentially can help you lower fat and belly fat in your body. Yes? If it's timed correctly. And it also helps with sleep. And carbs support, obviously, training output, which preserves muscles. So carbohydrates, let's kind of look a little bit deeper at this, okay? Chronically low carbs increases cortisol, and cortisol tells the body to store belly fat, not burn it. This is why many women who eat clean, they train consistently, but they stay inflamed and stuck. We see it all the time. I have seen this year after year after year. And I mean, my process and my system just becomes more and more precise as every year goes on. I just see it all the time. I eat clean, Clarice, and I look at their food log. First of all, they may not eat clean, but they might eat clean. I actually have seen that. But the problem is not about the cleanness sometimes. Sometimes it's their macros are all over the place. It's in the wrong ratios. And it's not, a lot of women are afraid of carbs. They just don't admit it. They're afraid of carbs. And that's why if you eat too low carbs, you will stay potentially inflamed and stuck. Okay. So we're going to go deeper on these aha moments. Okay. And if you're enjoying this, put below like what you're enjoying. And like I said, if you have, there's a link at the top. If you want to share this with a friend, invite them to join. Actually, they have to be in the group to join. But anyways, you can try to invite them, but with the link or something like that so that they can join. So why carbs lower cortisol? So cortisol, as you know, has a good job. It does. Cortisol is meant to help you survive. Cortisol helps you bring blood sugar back into your body when your body needs it. Cortisol can be good. But chronically elevated cortisol, which most menopausal women struggle with, like all the people I have seen and coached, I'm thinking about Tammy and some of these other ladies, is the cortisol sitting high. And when it's chronically elevated, it promotes belly fat storage. It breaks down muscle, it disrupts sleep, and it suppresses thyroid function. And so what triggers cortisol release? Okay, ready? So I hear a lot of women say, I have to control cortisol. I'm going to try to feel calmer. But if this is not controlled, what I'm about to say, you're still going to have cortisol. Cortisol is triggered under low or unstable blood glucose. So this happens in low or unstable blood glucose when you have insufficient carbs, you have long gaps without food, like fasting. People who do a lot of fasting. But there's things about that we can get more into later. But long gaps without food, under fueling relative to training. So if your body senses this, not enough carbs, long gaps without food, and under fueling relative to training, even for some of my own clients, to the point of under fueling, a lot of women just keep thinking they have to eat less. They think they have to eat less carbs, when in reality, you might need to eat more. And that is about understanding where that carbohydrate needs to sit, the role of carbs, the types of carbs, the timing of carbs. That is the key. Another thing where we want to talk about is when you eat carbs, you raise blood glucose predictably, okay? So you raise blood glucose well, because you can raise it. It's supposed to go up sometimes, yeah? You reduce the need for cortisol to do the job. So when you have carbs, you don't invite cortisol into the scene. And your brain actually feels safe, like fuel is available. Okay, so this is really important, because if your body does not feel safe, it will not drop for you. A lot of women, because carbs are complex, they don't eat enough, or they eat too much. So they're either going to gain, or they're going to put themselves in chronically cortisol elevated situations, okay? Who here finds carbs difficult? Put carbs below if you find carbs difficult, that you find it's complex, it's difficult, don't know how to adjust it, what to adjust, how much to adjust, timing of it. If you find carbs very difficult, put carbs below. The thing is, your body feeling safe is a crucial part of your body being able to break a plateau, okay? This is why Tammy in a plateau, Kat Wilson a long time ago in a plateau. How many women approach me? I'm in a plateau, I cannot drop. Leslie was in a plateau for 3 years or 2 years plus. She, no matter what she did everything possible. And Leslie was actually one of those who ate clean. When I looked at her log, there was only 1 or 2 items I need to clean up. So it had nothing to do with whether she was clean or not. It was everything else around the macros, about her timing, about the way she distributed food, the types of carbs. And we switched it, and Leslie is in the most amazing place right now with her body, right? So if you're in a plateau, this is something I need you to know, is that there's something in your macronutrient that you're not doing, that it's missing, and that's why you're stalling. And a lot of times carbs is the key, not the only one, but carbs is a crucial component to that, okay? Now, why low carbs often backfires after 40, okay? So I already said this earlier, but after 40, your estrogen declines, cortisol clearance is slower, meaning cortisol stays in your system longer, your stress tolerance drops, and muscle mass is lower, meaning you have less ability to store carbs. Your carb sponges are not as good. Okay, so after 40, everything works against you, right? Estrogen drops, cortisol, getting rid of cortisol, or think about this, cortisol just sits in your body more easily. Stress tolerance drops, muscle mass is lower, so you don't have as much sponge to absorb the carbs. So when women eat very low carb, train harder, they skip meals or eat clean but light, the body interprets all of that signals as chronic stress. And chronic stress relates to higher cortisol, stubborn belly fat, poor sleep, fatigue, and cravings. Do any of you struggle with one of these 5? Put it below. Higher cortisol, stubborn belly fat, poor sleep, fatigue, or cravings at night. Any one of you struggle with these 5? Put below which one you struggle with. Okay, but if your body interprets chronic stress, that those are what you're going to see as symptoms that come out, okay? If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Listening on Spotify, tap that 5-star rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a quick review. It really helps the show reach more women.
And so if you say something like this, I know a lot of women come to me and say, yeah, I used to have no problem losing weight. I used to be very lean. I would just start to restrict carbs, eat less carbs, and it worked. But I don't know why it doesn't work now. The answer is because what worked for you in your 20s and 30s will not work for you after 40, 50, and 60. Your body's tolerance to carbs and absorption and all the things I talked about is different at this age. Okay. Yes. So again, if you are listening to this and you've already put it, then good. But if you struggle with carbs and you want to learn better how to balance carbs, put carbs below. And you have to know that this is very specific to each person. So let's talk a little bit about carbs and sleep. We talked about carbs and cortisol. Okay. And so you guys do understand that, but let's also talk about sleep. So carbs, when you eat carbs, you release insulin. Now, insulin isn't bad. It's a transport hormone, meaning it transports, sugar and allows, obviously sugar to go in and out of the cells, that type of thing. But there's another role of insulin that you may not know, okay? Insulin allows the amino acid tryptophan to cross the blood-brain barrier. Now, tryptophan is required to make serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin is your feel good, feel calm hormone, which is important to counteracting cortisol, but melatonin helps you fall asleep. So carbs actually helps to calm your nervous system, lower your evening cortisol, and support deeper sleep. So this is kind of why women who try to diet and do all this type of stuff is really unsustainable. You can only last so long, then you're going to have cravings. And when you cut carbs, typically you'll start to wake up at night more often, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. You'll have more night sweats. Night sweats get worse, racing thoughts. When you have low carbs or not proper carbs, it affects a lot of hormonal responses in your body. So this is why carbs are important, because if you don't have good sleep, well, the cascade effect is horrible, right? Inability to build muscle. You cannot build muscle. Your cravings, your ghrelin, all the hormones go haywire because of poor sleep. But if you don't have enough carbs, don't eat enough carbs, don't eat the right carbs, don't have the right ratios, and don't have the right timing, then you just basically put yourself into poor sleep zones, which affect all of your muscle building potential, all of the more hormonal dysregulation, and makes things just worse for your body, right? So this is why carbs are important. But I am going to say a caveat is that carbs, when done improperly, is also one of the fastest ways to put on weight on you. So this is why this is tricky. This is why it's tough for a lot of women unless you have very precise knowledge about macros around what needs to happen to make this happen the right way. Obviously, I posted my competition photo for a very big reason. I know Shona and I both know, and obviously anyone who's competed is at the highest level, we know exactly what needs to happen to bring yourself down to the lowest percentage body fat and have the maximum muscle on your body. And that happens because you have the right ratio in your body. And I find most women, they are afraid of carbs, or they don't know how to eat the carbs, basically, right? Carbs are not the enemy. Mistimed carbs are the problem. If you don't know when to eat your carbs or how the carbs should be or how they should be distributed, they will lead to sugar binges, late night snacking, or ultra processed carbs. So the important point I want you guys to understand is intentional structured carbs is super crucial. Intentional structured carbs, okay? Now, just understand that I spend more time with carbs because I'm only going to spend 3 minutes on fats after this. Carbs, I spent 15 minutes talking about it. The reason is that Carbs, like I said, is very complex. Protein is complex in some regards, but everybody kind of knows they need to eat some protein, and the fitness direction is that. But carbs, in this middle ground here I'm talking about, affects a lot of women psychologically, and they are unable to overcome eating more carbs and how to do it without sabotaging their results, because too high, too low both have problems in the carb region. So that's why I spent longer talking about it. And if you're just like, I need to understand more and all of that, like I said, just put carbs below. Okay, moving on to fats. Fats, okay, are required for estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone production. Okay, steroid hormones are basically those: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. They come from fats, are made from fats, so you need good fats. Too low of fats creates hormonal disruption, but too high of fats creates calorie displacement. Okay, so what do I mean by that? When you eat too high of fats, you're going to push some other things out of the way, the balance of carbs. So if you eat too high of fats, something is going to give. Okay, and a lot of times what gives when people eat too high of fats is protein. Protein typically drops because your body can only eat so much, and then your calorie displacement is off. And that means that too high fat leads to potential muscle loss. But let's just say you go, well, no, I eat high protein and fat, but then the calorie displacement also means, because fat is super high calorie dense, right? It's the densest caloric count. Then that means you are too high in your caloric range, and then you gain fat. So it's again one of those things where you do need more fats. As a woman over 40, I will always say you need more fats than you realize, because you need more production of hormones, of estrogen, estrogen, testosterone, all those types of things. You need more fats, but too high is a problem. And so fat is hormonally essential, but it isn't free. You have to be very careful where the fats are coming from and what kinds of fat. Again, saturated fats versus unsaturated fats, those types of things that I've talked about before. Where does your fat come from also really matters. You need fats for absorbing lots of good vitamins, for calming the system. Carbs calm the system. Fats also calms the systems, like omegas and things like that. It does calm your system, but it's just making sure we have the right balance of it. So the key is macro balance. And the macro balance for you is different for you versus another person. So it can't be like what's balanced for Tammy is what's balanced for 𝗠𝗂𝗀𝗀𝗧𝗏. What's balanced for Jackie is not what's balanced for Jennifer. Everybody has a different macro balance depending on your existing hormonal profile. Thus, one of the reasons why the phenomenal results that Kathleen and even Leslie has had, and even Tammy breaking your plateau and everything, and dropping, I think, 8 pounds now, is me being able to see your belly, and I know generally what hormone signals are going through your body, and then giving you macros based on the hormone signal in your body, because your hormone signal determines whether you should have this much carbs, less of this, more fat, all of those types of things. So your hormone profile determines what your macro balance needs to be. So if you're listening and you're like, I don't really know what my macro balance is, put macro balance below. Your macro balance changes with age and based on your activities. So an example is this. If you first started working out and you were pretty new to training and working out and all that, your body's uptake of carbs is intense, because it's a signal, oh my gosh, we're building muscle, we need to give it carbs and all of this type of stuff. For my longer term clients who have worked out for a while, your carb uptake may not even be as good as before, because your body has learned and adapted, has changed. So its ability and what it needs and its level of carbs changes because you've adapted. You are an experienced lifter, which means that your amount of macros changes as you go through different stages, different age, different hormone profile, what you do now, how well you work out, how hard you work out, what you do for a living, you sit, you stand, you walk all day, everything affects the macro balance. So just keep in mind, because when I teach this, it is not just for the newest person like Andrea or Simone or Jennifer. I'm actually really trying to teach this to my own clients. This is why I get a lot of you guys to come, like Tammy and Joanne and a lot of you, because a lot of women I coach who have worked with me think the macros they have right now stays the same. And it does not stay the same. It changes with your body, with what you do, okay? So this is super, super important. So let's talk a little bit about why macros matter after 40, okay? So we need to look at key physiological changes in your body after 40. Number one, lower estrogen. Your lower estrogen means that insulin sensitivity lowers. So the first thing I want you to think about in terms of your hormones is if you have lower estrogen, your insulin response is not as good. Okay, so that's something you're going to be like, okay, that's already happening in my body. My insulin response will not be as good. Number two, higher baseline cortisol. Baseline, like where it naturally sits, like maybe in your 20s and things, it's baseline lower. After 40, the baseline of cortisol will naturally sit higher and higher as you age. So the higher baseline cortisol means there is more fat storage, okay? So if you ever wonder why you have more fat on your body, that's why, because of higher cortisol. Number three, loss of muscle. So your loss of muscle, sarcopenia, starts around age 30. So if you don't keep up your lifting or muscle building, the loss of muscle will affect everything, like the amount of food, the way you intake, how much protein you need, the carbs, all of that. And number four, your lower metabolic flexibility. Your body's ability to switch between protein, carbs, fat, all of these things, okay, is not so flexible anymore. When you're younger, it has more ability to switch between using different energy sources. As you age, your body doesn't have ability to switch. Okay. And so this affects how efficient your metabolism is. Okay. So your body becomes less efficient at using food. That doesn't mean you eat less. It means you eat more accurately. So I want all of you guys to say that to yourself or write it in your notebook if you are taking notes on that workbook. It's not about eating less. It's about eating more accurately. Not eating less, but eating more accurately. Okay. So put it down on the comments, eat more accurately. This is the key to real physique change. Okay. So calories assume the body processes all food equally. When you look at calories in, calories out, and that's why when Tammy first came to me, she told me that she was mainly counting calories. And I remember our consultation, you'll remember this, Tammy. And I said, oh, you don't do macros? And she said, no. She said, I was just doing calories. And so this is really crucial to understand is calories assume the body processes all food equally. And the truth is, it doesn't. Your body does not process all food equally, okay? Whereas when you focus in on macros determine how much food goes to muscle. Macro determines how much goes to fat, how much becomes inflammation, and how much raises or lowers cortisol. Those are like bombs right there for you. Think about that for a second. Macros actually determine how much food goes to your muscle, how much goes to fat, how much goes to inflammation, and how much raises or lowers cortisol. If you're just like super curious on like what my macros are, put my macros below. When you say my macros, remember you're asking to want to know precisely the amount that your body needs for your stage of life. So put my macros if you're like, I want to know my macros for my body, for my situation. Okay. So let's actually go back to clean eating. Okay. So before you log off, and obviously I talk about protein, carbs, and fat, is I want to come back to this concept of eating clean. Okay. When women tell me I try to eat clean, or what's your New Year's resolution, or we often ask what's your goal for 2026, they often tell me I want to eat better. I want to eat cleaner. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with it. I just want to point out sometimes why that can be a little bit of a black hole. Okay. And that's only comes with obviously understanding context, wisdom, many years of coaching, understanding, watching, transforming bodies. That's me speaking more from a wisdom point of view. And I know that most people don't know. So it's not, it's not a judgment. It's just that I want you guys to know, when you guys say I need to eat clean, do you really know what that means? Because the problem with eating cleaner that I see and have seen over time is there's no control of protein adequacy, how much, when, like the timing of protein, no carb timing or carb understanding between the 3 different classes of carbs. My own clients kind of know that. No ratio awareness and no hormonal context. When people say they eat cleaner, they're not taking into account a lot of these types of things. So are you one of these? Tell me, as I was smiling when I was thinking about this. Okay. And it's okay, because eating this doesn't mean you're off track, but you may have fallen into the trap. Okay. Are you a salad and chicken girl? Tell me below. I actually want participation on this. I was smiling when I was doing this part. Are you like, I'm going to eat a salad and chicken and I'm so healthy? Like, is it a salad chicken? Are you a smoothie? Are you, I'll eat a light dinner? Are you yes, I guess like juicing. Juicing would be another one, like smoothie, juicing. I'm just going to eat a light dinner. I'm just going to have a salad or chicken. Any one of those you feel are you, that you have fallen a trap to? And why I bring this up is, again, like it's more awareness for you. I eat salad and chicken too, don't get me wrong, but there is a difference. I'm very, very clear the macro balance I need and what else I must have with it. Actually, Tammy asked me a really good question yesterday. She says, oh, you told me about the special popcorn, and she was saying, should I eat this, or should I eat it with the balance, or what does it look like? And I'm like, balance. There's no just eating things by itself. Balance, right? The salad chicken, or just salad, or salad and a little meat, salad and I see it a lot. And 1, I see women having low energy. 2, difficulty building muscle. And 3, they just still can't drop their belly fat. So somehow the salad and chicken isn't working, right? It's better than eating McDonald's though, but it's just something is wrong with that, right? So if you have a light dinner and it's not balanced, or you're not having the right signal going through your body, you're going to impact your cortisol, you're going to impact your sleep patterns, and you're going to impact your ability to actually build muscle. So this is why it's more awareness than anything that I want you to think about. When you say I need to eat cleaner, eat lighter, I would like all of you to just slow down and go, wait, what am I actually saying here? Am I just saying I need to eat greens and eat my smoothie? Or is the truth is, if I want to actually truly eat healthy, it's actually about macro balance. Macro balance. Put it there below. Tell yourself that. Put it on your notebook. Macro balance. Yes. And I find this really funny that when I was training and competing, I had so many people that were like, oh my gosh, like, so do you mean like all you do is eat salad and chicken and you get that physique? I'm like, you have no idea. I ate at 22,000 calories as a 5'2" woman. I ate so much food, unbelievable amount of food. You know that picture of my competition? Do you know how much I ate there? And people are like, when they actually like think you have to starve yourself to get a physique. I'm like, no, you don't starve yourself to get a physique. You eat the right macro balance to get the physique you want, to lose fat and build muscle. So I see macro balance below. Yes. So yes, exactly. So this is something that I just want to make sure we debunk a lot of the way people think and why so many women are stuck, because they don't really take the time to understand macros. Now,
if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Listening on Spotify, tap that 5-star rating. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a quick review. It really helps the show reach more women.
One more thing I'm going to say is macros from an app is a good starting point, but I am a little bit afraid for you. If you use macros from an app, be very cautious, okay? Please. I know there's a lot of apps and a lot of things you can download these days that says like, oh, you're this age, you're this height, you're this blah, 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 and you want to build muscle. This is your caloric range and this is what your macro ranges are. They are highly inaccurate and they will affect your hormone signals. They're highly inaccurate because they don't understand your body. They don't understand that maybe you're slightly insulin resistant. Maybe you have a sitting job. Maybe you work out twice a day. I'm thinking of maybe Cat Wilson. I'm just joking around, but maybe you work out twice a day, or like or maybe like Tammy, maybe has multiple different kinds of belly fat on her. And how do you tell an app that? How do you tell that? If it takes me a number of weeks to determine your full accurate macros, how can an app actually figure out all the nuances of what you're doing in your life to give you the exact macros, right? And so this is something like anybody who uses those apps, just try to be really careful. I've had clients come to me who got worse, was plateaued, gained weight. They just did nothing worked because they were following the macros from an app. Okay, so just be super careful. So in summary, 19 eyeballs, in summary, the real issue of you not being able to get to your ideal body is not eating too much, is not eating too little, and is not lack of discipline. The real issue is wrong ratios, wrong distribution, and wrong macro emphasis for hormonal state. That is the real issue for a lot of women. So if your protein is too low, then your body will protect your body from losing fat. If carbs are mistimed, cortisol will stay high. And if fat is displaced for protein, then muscle loss accelerates. So one affects the other like a cascade effect. Okay. So this is what I really want to make sure I help you guys understand. And so you need to remember this. You need enough protein to preserve muscle, enough carbs to train and control cortisol, and enough fats to support hormones. This is why macros are foundational and not optional. Okay, so just remember everything I said here is you need all three, but you need it in the right ratios, right timing, right splits, and the right dialing, the way you need to dial it through different seasons of your life. So just a last thing here is, again, tell me one thing that you love learning or you didn't know or you thought was pretty cool. If you've already told me, tell me below, or you've told me it's okay. But if you haven't, tell me, what did you enjoy learning from this? And I'm just going to wrap up with the January reset thing. So I did send an email to all the people in the January reset, which is our 5-week series based on the workbook. I would encourage you to complete the workbook at least 1 or 2 pages before you come to my live, just so that you have something to anchor your thought process. Okay. If you don't, that's fine. You still come to the live. And I had sent an email today about there is a merchandise draw for our new Fierce Woman things coming down the line. So the rules are, if you have attended one of our lives, and you've engaged on one of our posts for the January reset, and I will put up a prompt tomorrow or something to get you guys to think about macros tomorrow in the group. Here in the weekly live replay section, come back and respond on it. You will get entered into the raffle draw, okay? And that raffle draw, we will draw on the last week. So February 5th is the last week we will make the draw. No, February 4th, Wednesday. We will draw for prizes for people to win some new Fierce Woman merchandise and cool things. So awesome. I hope that added value. Like I said, if it helped you, drop a comment, hit the love button. So I would encourage you guys to keep sharing, keep spreading the love, and help more women understand the truth behind being able to drop fat and build muscles. So hopefully you found this valuable. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2026, and sending you all lots of love.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fierce and Fit Mentor podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit the follow button on Spotify, subscribe on YouTube, or wherever you're listening so you never miss an episode. If something in this episode resonated with you, please leave a review or share it with a friend who'd love it too. Your support means the world and helps us reach more amazing women like you. Until next time, stay fierce, stay fit, and let's keep building your most powerful self.